A comparative analysis between the UN mission in Bosnia and Herzegovina and UN verification mission in Colombia by Alejandra Maria Lara Méndez. In April 1992, the government of the Yugoslav Republic of Bosnia-Herzegovina declared its independence from Yugoslavia. Over the next years, Bosnian Serb forces with the Serb-dominated Yugoslav army perpetrated crimes against Bosniak that were Bosnian Muslims and Croatian civilians, resulting in the death of 100,000 people. 80% of them were Bosniak by 1995. This was the worst act of genocide since the Nazi regime's destruction of some 6 billion European Jews during the World War II. On December 1995, the Security Council, by its Resolution 1035, established for an initial period of 1 year the United Nations International Police Task Force and United Nations Civilian Office in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This was done in accordance with the peace agreement signed by the leaders of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, and the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia on December 1995. The operation came to be known as the United Nations Mission in Bosnia and Herzegovina, UNMIBH. The UNMIBH was headed by the Special Representative of the Secretary General and the Coordinator of the United Nations operations in Bosnia and Herzegovina, who exercised authority over the IPTF, Police Commissioner, and coordinated all other United Nations activities in Bosnia and Herzegovina, such as the humanitarian relief of refugees, demining, human rights, elections, and the rehabilitation of infrastructure and economic reconstruction. Some of the special representatives of the Secretary Generals of the mission were the following: Iqbal Riza from Pakistan, Kai Eide from Norway, Elizabeth Wren from Finland, and Jacques Paul Klein from the United States. The UNMIBH's mandate was to contribute to the establishment of a rule of law in Bosnia and Herzegovina by assisting in reforming and reconstructing the local police, assessing in the functioning of existing judicial system, and monitoring the performance of the local police and others involved in the maintenance of rule of law and order. Also, it was to consider the requests from the parties or law enforcement agencies in Bosnia and Herzegovina for assistance with the aim of ensuring the existence of conditions for free and fair elections. Some of the main components of the mission were the International Police Task Force, which was involved in changing the primary focus of the local police from the security of the state to the security of the individual. The IPTF helped to recreate multi-ethnic police forces to make sure that they were professional and effective. Some of the main IPTF's tasks were support local police through co-location of its personnel at the interior ministries, public security centers, and police stations, and by providing expert support to investigation of special cases. The second, the Human Rights Office. Under the specific mandate of Security Council Resolution 1088, the work of the UNMIBH included investigating or assisting with investigations into human rights abuses by law enforcement personnel. That's why the Human Rights Office primary objectives were to investigate human rights violations by law enforcement agents, design remedial measures to correct such violations, and monitor and ensure the implementation of the corrective measures. The third, the Judicial System Assessment Program. This was established in accordance with the Security Council Resolution 1184. In July 1998, the program was mandated to monitor and assess the court system in Bosnia and Herzegovina as part of an overall program of legal reform under the coordination of the High Representative. The last one, the trust funds. Two separate trust funds were established by the UN Secretary General in March 1994. Restoring of essential public services in Sarajevo, and in 1996, the Police Assistance Program. The funds helped in the implementation of several important projects. In December 1995, the Secretary General adopted a report pursuant to the Security Council Resolution 25, we request the Security Council to establish a transitional administration to govern the region during the transitional period, which will initially be for 12 months but which may be extended to 2 years at the request of one of the parties to ensure the activities by the UN and organizations previously mentioned. Consequently, the Security Council adopted Resolution 1035, where, having considered the previous report of the Secretary General, decides to establish for a period of 1 year an United Nations Civilian Police Force to be known as the International Police Task Force, which will be later transformed into the UNMIBH. Security Council adopted several resolutions in order to increase the strength of the UNMIBH by giving additional responsibilities and giving recommendations to the mission. At the end, the Secretary General adopted a report in December 2002 where it established the success of the activities by ensuring individual police officers meeting the international standards of personal and professional integrity and the establishment of a state border service that now controls the 100% of the land borders, among other activities. Following the successful conclusion of its mandate, the UNMIBH was terminated in December 2002 in accordance with the Security Council Resolution 1423 of July in 2022. After war in Colombia between the revolutionary armed forces in Colombia and the country's government, both agreed in starting the peace processes in September 2012 with peace talks in Havana, Cuba. The final agreement was signed in November 2016 and provided the establishment of a second special political mission that will begin operations upon completion of the mandate of the United Nations mission in Colombia, which was given responsibility for the verification of the agreement between the government and FARC on the bilateral and definitive ceasefire and cessation of hostilities and laying down of arms. The final agreement also specified that the second United Nations mission should be responsible for the verification of the reintegration of FARC members to the society. As a consequence, it was on July 2017, by Resolution 2366, that the Security Council established the UN verification mission in Colombia to verify the reintegration of former FARC rebels into civilian life, as well as implementation of personal and collective security guarantees for former rebels and their families. The UN implementation of the operational aspects include logical and regional verification of the rebels and their families' activities, the presence in about 26 territorial areas for training and reintegration, where reincorporation of FARC is taking place, as well as implementation of personal and collective security guarantees, and these activities are under the command of the Special Representative of the Secretary General. The mission has had two different special representatives, which are Jean Arnaud from France and Carlos Ruiz Massieu from Mexico. Some of the main organizations, NGOs, and institutions that are working together to promote the verification of the mission in Colombia are the Commission for Monitoring, Promoting, and Verifying the Implementation of the Final Agreement and the National Reincorporation Council. Also, we have the civil society sector, where ethnic groups of victims, NGOs, women organizations, the private sector, academia, educational institutions, the Catholic Church, among others, are working together to fulfill the activities established by the mission. In June 2017, the Secretary General adopted a report where it established the agreed to request the Security Council the tasks of the Second United Nations Political Mission, provided for in the peace agreement be brought forward to begin before 10 of July of the same year. This led to the adoption of Security Council Resolution 2365, which was previously mentioned. On September 2017, the government of Colombia and the National Liberation Army ELN made a joint request to the Security Council to authorize the UN verification mission in Colombia to participate in the monitoring and verification mechanism established to strengthen the bilateral and temporary ceasefire beginning in October 2017 with the adoption of Resolution 2381. On September 2018, the Security Council adopted the Resolution 2435, where they decided to extend until September 2019 the mandate of the United Nations Verification Mission in Colombia. To conclude, on March 2019, the report of the Secretary General, where he noted the obstacles to peace conciliation, including the continued killing of social leaders as well as the FARC members, the slow process of the reintegration program to gain uncertainty of the part of former FARC members about their legal, physical, and economic conditions, and he also expressed that the reintegration process continues to advance, although the scale of the program remains limited. He also welcomes the President's pledge to find a common ground and reiterated his call on the government, the Congress, and all entities to take action to ensure the law and put place as soon as possible in accordance with the provisions of the peace agreement. The missions implemented to ensure the well-being, security, and peace within the countries have demonstrated the capacity to reach the restoration of peace within territory. Despite the fact that many missions have not yet been completed, it is expected that along with the support of the United Nations and organizations, the objective will be approached as in the case of Bosnia and the peace process is now in Colombia.